Praise the Lord, everyone. Today let us learn one of the spiritual lessons from the book of Exodus in the Bible. Today our topic is trusting in God's timing, waiting for the burning bush moments in your life. Trusting in God's timing is a critical aspect of the Christian faith. As Christians, we believe that God has a plan for our lives, and that plan includes both the big and small details of our journey. However, it can be difficult to wait for God's timing, especially when we are faced with uncertainty or difficult circumstances. In this podcast, we will explore the importance of trusting in God's timing and waiting for the burning bush moments in our lives. Trusting in God's timing means believing that God has a plan for our lives, and that His plan will come to fruition in His perfect timing. We must be willing to trust in Him even when it seems like He is silent or taking too long to answer our prayers. Waiting for God's timing requires patience, faith, and a willingness to surrender our plans to God's will. In life, we often find ourselves waiting for something, waiting for the right job, waiting for the right partner, waiting for healing, waiting for a breakthrough, or waiting for a burning bush moment. Waiting is not always easy, but as Christians, we are called to trust in God's timing and His plan for our lives. The story of Moses in the book of Exodus teaches us valuable lessons about waiting for God's timing and recognizing the burning bush moments that come our way. Lessons from Exodus on trusting in God's timing. Firstly, God's timing is perfect. The story of Moses begins with the Israelites in Egypt. They had been in slavery for 400 years, and they were crying out to God for deliverance. In Exodus 2, we are introduced to Moses, who was born during this time of oppression. Moses was raised in Pharaoh's household, but after killing an Egyptian, he fled to Midian. It was during his time in Midian that God appeared to him in a burning bush and called him to deliver the Israelites from slavery. This burning bush moment happened at the perfect time. Moses was now ready and willing to obey God's call. We can learn from this that God's timing is always perfect, and He knows when we are ready for the next step in our journey. Secondly, God's plan is bigger than our own. When Moses first encountered God in the burning bush, he was hesitant to obey God's call. He felt inadequate and unworthy, but God reassured him that He would be with him every step of the way. Moses' reluctance to obey God's plan is a reminder that we often have our own plans and ideas about what our lives should look like. However, God's plan is always bigger and better than our own. We need to trust in God's plan and be willing to step out in faith, even when we feel inadequate or unprepared. Thirdly, God speaks to us in different ways. God spoke to Moses through a burning bush, but He speaks to us in many different ways. It could be through prayer, reading the Bible, a sermon, a song, or even through a conversation with a friend. We need to be open to hearing God's voice in whatever way He chooses to speak to us. Fourthly, God equips us for the journey. When Moses was hesitant to obey God's call, God assured him that He would be with him every step of the way. God also equipped Moses with the tools he needed to accomplish the task at hand. In the same way, God equips us for the journey that He has set before us. He gives us the gifts and abilities we need to accomplish His plan for our lives. Fifthly, we need to have faith and trust in God. Ultimately, the story of Moses teaches us that we need to have faith and trust in God. Moses could not have accomplished the task of leading the Israelites out of slavery on his own. He needed to have faith that God would be with him every step of the way. In the same way, we need to trust that God will be with us as we wait for His timing and step out in faith to follow His plan for our lives. In conclusion, waiting for God's timing is not always easy, but the story of Moses in the book of Exodus teaches us valuable lessons about trusting in God's timing and recognizing the burning bush moments that come our way. We need to remember that God's timing is perfect. His plan is bigger than our own. He speaks to us in different ways. He equips us for the journey, and we need to have faith and trust in Him. As we wait for God's timing, let us continue to seek His will and trust in His plan for our lives. May God bless you.